All right, welcome everyone to the AWX office hours for June 2013. Today's agenda is pretty easy. We're going to start with some receptor enhancements talk by Seth and Tangelor. We're going to talk about the Code Health Initiative and a call to action from Alan. Hal can't join us today, so I'm actually going to talk about the update merge policy for him. Jake is going to talk about the Bullhorn and some meetup information. And then if we have enough time, I will redo the Community Day presentation that I did earlier this year. And then any remaining time will be open for general discussion. And with that, I will turn it over to Seth.
Okay, thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen so I can kind of, can I take over this, John? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to talk about a couple of contributions that one of our community members, Tonga, has made in the past couple of weeks that's enhanced the receptor collection that we have. So the first one is that if you go to our Ansible receptor collection GitHub page, and for those who don't know, the receptor collection is what happens when you want to set up any sort of node that runs receptor service and has all the bits and pieces installed. This is the collection we use to do that. So when you add an remote execution node through the UI, or in the future, we're going to have the ability to add a hop node. When you set up those nodes in the UI or through the app, you can hit the install bundle endpoint, and that will download the playbooks that will evoke this collection to set up and sort of provision those nodes and stand them up, make sure the services are running, make sure they're configured properly. And so this is where all those playbooks and roles live in this repo. And so what Tonga has done is, he made a pretty nice PR the other day, which changed all of our variables for these roles and put them in a nice table here. So that's one big change that I think is really helpful. It makes this doc a lot more readable. So it's a really nice change. So you can see these are all the top level variables that you can have in the vars file. There's quite a bit here. Most of them go to some sort of default, but a lot of these are overridden depending on the install bundle that you will get from the API. So but the other big change, this was kind of a more minor change in comparison to the really big change that Tonga did, which is we initiated a large PR that would allow us to give us more flexibility in how we install receptors. So starting with a couple of releases ago, if you go to the Ansible receptor page, you'll notice that we build a binary for a variety of platforms. So we have a receptor binary for Darwin systems, AMD64. We have the Linux, we have ARM and AMD64. We also have Windows builds. So we now have a greater variety, and also these binaries could be used on more systems. So before, when you were setting up a receptor, or when you were setting up a remote execution node, it was expected that you'd be downloading from some sort of package manager. And the way we did that previously is we had a receptor binary that was packaged up on the sort of like Fedora Copper repo. And so as part of the initial playbook, you would have to add that sort of repo to your system and then install receptor that way. That was not very flexible for our team because we weren't able to keep that receptor binary updated as well. So, and you weren't able to specify a specific receptor release. And so now what you can do is, with the receptor collection, there's now a keyword called receptor. Where's it at? Let me just search for it. So now we have a receptor install method, and there's three different types of ways in which you can install receptor. The default one is the release, which means that we're going to download one of the binaries from this release page, and then we're going to, as part of the playbook, upload it to the remote execution that you're trying to provision and run the receptor from that binary. That's the default if you don't really override the variable. Then what happens is there's two other ways that could be useful to some individuals. We have one that's just called package. That's the other one that you can provide. So let me actually go to the, yeah, so package, there's release, then there's package. Package is basically using the package manager that's on the system. So like a DNF install, and that will be mostly useful if you're really just running on a Railbox. And that's the only one that's supported currently. And then the last one is local. And local is to be paired with this variable here, local receptor bin file. Basically, this means that you can upload a locally built receptor and push it over to the hop node or remote node. So this should help also streamline our process of testing local receptor files, so that we don't have to be tied to doing a full release, for example, to get it from the release page, or we don't have to build a package, for example. So we can really push any binary over to a system and start using that in testing and making sure that remote execution nodes are working properly. So these are all the changes that were wrapped up in a recent PR. We haven't released with that commit yet, so the newest release does not yet have those changes, but I just wanted to highlight it as something that's going to be in the next receptor collection release, which will happen probably in the next week or two. So that's something to look out for. Yeah, those are the major changes I wanted to mention. So yeah, big thanks to Tonga for making those changes. Actually, I see that Tonga's on the call. Hopefully I did your work justice. But if you have something else that you want to mention on it, feel free to jump in and talk about it. But yeah, these are exciting changes. All right, that's what I got, John.
Excellent. Thank you all. So up next, we have Code Health Initiative and a call to action by Alan.
Hi. Well, actually, John had already put some of this stuff together here. So I can go ahead and bring up. We don't have anything filed in GitHub. Oh, we had an issue about improving the development experience, and that was quite nice. There was a lot of work associated with that was done, and I was really happy to see the engagement there. And with Code Health, I want to talk about more like we don't know what we can do yet. There might be more of like feedback from people. As you see things, then from actually interacting with the code base, like what common problems are better than what any like automated tools will do. But John a while ago had set up this Sonar Cloud to analyze AWX, and out of the ideas that we've kind of thought about, we've looked at so far, I think that there's already a lot of just very easily actionable things in here, but we don't want to take everything. So if you look at some of these analysis, they'll come out with almost 2,000 code smells. And that's not going to be particularly helpful. That's probably not what we want. But if you look at the, they have prioritized like severity of things. If you look at like the bug level things here, and sometimes they'll call them errors, I think, virtually every one of those is something that's completely valid. And I think that we should definitely look at. So if you follow this Sonar Cloud setup, it was ran a little bit ago, but it's all still valid. It hasn't changed. If you go through these, you can scroll through them, and then it's hard to read at first. You need to like look at what it's saying, and then kind of think about it. So again, like some of these are higher priority than others. So here's a scale over here. So the first, obviously, you want to deal with the highest priority things first. If you look at the blockers, then there's only 9 of those. throughout the entire code base. And almost they're all 100% valid. Just if you know how to program in Python decently well, then it's going to be pretty clear. And this is this one, for instance, like a little opinionated. They'll say don't return the call to init. It's like valid. The init doesn't need to be returned, and that's all there is for that. So that's pretty simple. And if somebody wants to just get their fingers on a keyboard, there's good things to do like that. So I would like to share this. Like, if somebody was interested, they can absolutely go through and start picking things off. If somebody wants to like kind of have something arranged, if somebody wants to actually be assigned, we could like file an issue to say like, oh hey, there's like these issues. You can look at them and then work on them and contribute them. That would be a good way. Like if you're having trouble getting involved otherwise, like if you want to get involved, that's something that we could do. Going through some other ideas, I've looked through some just unused things that were lying around, some unused variables and different stuff, and I've tried to like clean up some of those myself, but it's really hard to kind of figure out some kind of catch-all criteria that's going to be a good thing that's going to lead to a lot of work that's like easy to introduce somebody to. So I kind of struggle with like good code health ideas that are already like done or aren't trivial to do once you know how to do them. But there's a couple of things like in Django. There's a couple of things that just could be updated. Like I think one of the ones that stuck out to me was our middleware, for instance. So you could go to it's like AWX main middleware.py, and there's like a new style middleware, there's an old style middleware. And as an example for that, like we could have an objective, just simply go and update the middleware to the new style. And that's not some kind of earth-shattering thing, but it's something that might be good if somebody was interested to get involved, basically, because it's really a shoe-in. There's no reason to be not using for not using the new style. So we could just if somebody wanted to do that and you wanted to formally like be assigned, you know, you can let me know, and then we can like file an issue and then follow up on the normal contributing pattern for that. So I think that code health is a really good idea. I want to see more stuff done for it, and if you know that's a opportunity for somebody to get involved, I would totally thumbs up that. And while I'm mentioning like one or two things here, I think there's vastly more things that we don't know should be improved. So I want to hear from people if there's anything that's obvious to them, but not obvious to everyone else. That's could be very well easily categorized and like divvied up to allow other people to do contributions. That's all my spiel for that. John, what's the...
Excellent. Thank you. Yep. So up next is the updated merge policy. And again, Hao was unable to be here today and he assigned me to do it. So I'm going to stop sharing and then share a different window real quick. Okay, so hopefully you all are seeing this PR window. This particular PR isn't ready to merge yet, but what I wanted to bring up is that we've changed our merging capabilities. So you'll notice right here in this create a merge commit, we've decided to disable merge commits in the repository. We now default to squash and merge. So this particular PR has 9 commits, which you can hopefully see my mouse cursor right there pointing at, and it's basically saying it's going to take those 9 commits, squash them into a single commit, and add that once this PR is merged. We also have an option for rebase and merge, which would basically take the 9 commits, rebase them onto Devil, and then merge the 9 commits individually. But essentially, we are no longer going to do merge commits in here. And I think that was it. So I'm going to stop sharing this and then go back to the presentation. Okay, and up next is going to be Jake.
Yeah, so just wanted to drop a note here. I'm not sure how many folks are subscribed or aware of the Bullhorn, but the AWX community and the AWX dev team will begin starting to push our releases and our release notes towards the Bullhorn as well. So if anybody's aware, the Bullhorn is the Ansible community like developer newsletter essentially. So we are going to start pushing all of our release notes and everything there as well. Any new features, anything that we think is Bullhorn worthy will be sent there. And if you have something, if you did something that got merged and you think it's worthy, the Bullhorn is open for anybody and everybody who wants to think that something should be there. And then to follow that up as well, I know folks have heard me talk about it before, but we do have a lot of local meetups. We just wanted to plug those again. If anybody uses meetup.com, you can search for your local one there. If you're in the RDU meetup, please, or like in the RDU area or in North Carolina in general, and you would like to begin participating in one, I run the local one for us here. So happy to have you come, attend, speak, do whatever you want. So yeah, sweet.
Awesome, thank you. I just grabbed those 2 links and put them into the meeting chat as well. All right, and up next, I'm going to redo a presentation that I did for Community Day. So I just need to swap windows again, 1 second. All right, hopefully y'all can see that presentation now. So Ansible Community Day was the day before Red Hat Summit. It was hosted in Boston. And this is a presentation that I did, and hopefully today will go a little bit smoother. I had a couple of issues when I was presenting this at Summit as far as getting my laptop connected to the projector, and then also I didn't have access to either my speaker notes or anything to tell me what time it was. So hopefully today will be a little bit better. I am John Westcott IV. You can see my GitHub and my matrix. You'll see a QR code there. I did this for Community Day. Any slide that has a link has a QR code, so people could hold it up and actually scan and get a link instead of trying to take a picture of a slide with a link and then type it back in. This is my LinkedIn profile, so if you happen to have your phone and you want to try to scan it now, feel free. Also, these slides are published. I'm going to go ahead and throw a link to the published slides in the chat in case anybody wants a copy of them at some point. Okay, so a lot of this presentation is kind of like almost like a thinking back between when I did Contributor Summit in 2022 and where we were on Community Day in 2023. So first off, I think hopefully a lot of you will already know all of this information if you're in this meeting, but we have a matrix channel, which has been more and more active, I feel like, in the last couple of months. If you haven't already joined us, please join in, drop in and say hi. And our Google group is actually also fairly active. Since Contributor Summit in 2022, we've had 340 plus threads, and 278 of those threads we've replied to from an engineering perspective. So quite active there. We've done 13 releases of AWX and 14 releases of Operator, and you can see each of those, Operator and AWX, have had about 30 to 35 new contributors in those times, and we've done a lot of additions and deletions and commits, 760 commits. So there's some good stats there. And then these are all the new AWX contributors by the versions. Thank you everyone who's contributed in this way, and all of the AWX operator contributors by their versions. And again, these names only represent people who have had a PR merged. There's plenty of other unrecognized contributors from these 2 slides who have done things like responding to the mailing list or been active on Matrix, or even done things outside of those activities that help contribute to the AWX and AWX Operator project. And we'd really like to thank all of you. If you use Helm, we would like to apologize because with recent releases of AWX Operator, we broke Helm. I think this had been going on for probably 3 or 4 releases. And the way that the release code works, you kind of get one shot to run it. And then if something breaks, you do a little bit of troubleshooting and then try to fix it. But then you kind of have to wait again until the next release to test it out. We think the issue has finally been resolved, and we're hoping on the next release of AWX and Operator that Helm will just smoothly work. So again, our apologies, and thank you for being patient with us. Community PR status. We started a community PR triage meeting back in 2022. Since then, we've worked through 59 AWX PRs and 24 operator PRs. There's still 43 and 26 PRs left to work through, and we apologize that things take so long. We are doing our best to kind of clear out the backlog, and then hopefully once the backlog is done, new submitted PRs will go through this process much quicker. Eventually, we're hoping to open up this meeting to the community. So if you have a PR that you've submitted, we would love for you to be able to come to one of these PR triage meetings and be able to talk to your PR, answer any questions, and hopefully that'll actually increase the speed with which your PR can get merged. We're not quite there yet. We're still working on that, but hopefully that's something that will be coming shortly. In April of this year, we did a spring cleaning on our AWX issues. We reviewed and closed 218 PRs, 218 issues, and 19 PRs were created and closed as part of this process. So we had 19 enhancements to address the issues that we closed. It sounds really good, but we still have about 1.4K issues. So we only closed about 15% of the open issues, but we will continue to work through these, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe we can have like a summertime cleaning of the AWX issues to kind of go along with the spring cleaning we did, but we'll see if that happens. Community meetings, as you all hopefully know, we started community meetings in November of 22. It's held on the second Tuesday of the month, which is today. There's always an issue associated with the community meetings. So if you have a topic you would like to bring up, just go into GitHub, find the issue. This particular issue has already been will be closed later today because this is this month's community meeting issue, but a new one will be there. If you went to this issue, there's also links to previous issues and the next issue, so you can see all of the different issues and the agendas we've had. This meeting is also recorded, as hopefully you all know. So if you want to catch up on any of the meetings, you can go back through and watch the older meetings. We've also been giving out SPUD awards. These are the people who have received SPUD awards since Community Day 2022. Huge thank you to all of these people. The SPUD award goes to community members who have really stood out, gone above and beyond, or given back in a very special way. People usually get swag. Thank you again to all of our SPUD award winners. We have a YouTube channel. Kind of things that you'll see up there, obviously all of the community meetings, which are recorded. We try to do how-to and instructional videos. Contributors are always welcome. If you have an idea for a video or a request, please feel free to hit this GitHub issue. Just drop us a little note. I'd like to see a video about XYZ. Or if you want to make a video, please reach out to us on Matrix. We would absolutely love to see some community members make videos that get posted into our YouTube channel. I personally have a goal of creating at least 2 videos this year. One is in the works and should be done shortly. And then I have to decide on a second topic for another video, which I'll probably be looking through the issues to figure out what I want to do next. All right, big red disclaimer. I'm going to talk about some upcoming AWX features. I have no authority to provide any commitment as to if and when any of these features, if ever, will land. So everything you see here is going to be hand wavy, and please don't take it as these things will ever land, or if they will land, that they'll land within some specific amount of time. First up, we have dependency upgrades. So AWX runs on Django, and we use the current Django LTS version. And version 3 is pretty much over in support in about a little under a year. I think I want to say maybe 8 months. So we're preemptively moving to Django 4.2, so that will be under LTS support for a while again. The Django 4.2 has already landed in AWX. That was 22.3.0, so that is out and available for people to play with. That included an upgrade to Django REST Framework. We're now working on PsychoPG2 to PsychoPG3 upgrade. This will hopefully be merged in hopefully this week, cross my fingers, and then released in the next release of AWX. And then there's Redis and a couple other libraries that we want to look at and potentially do upgrades on our dependencies. Hop node creation. This is what the work that Tanga and Seth have been working on, as well as Kerpakoko. And I'm not going to go over this too much because Seth was already talking about this, but it basically allows the capability of adding a hop node. And then we were doing some work around DB connection changes, and I believe this merged. Rick, can you confirm or deny that?
One of the PRs merged. We still have a couple that we're working on for this.
Perfect. So basically, we want to kind of look at the connections and see what we can do with them. So we are working on trying to make connections a little bit more tolerable of database disconnects in the back end, and then kind of just reduce the general number of connections that we have going on between AWX and the database to try to keep things a little bit more performant and snappy. The UI was released in tech preview through AWX. If you have a more recent version of AWX, you might see that little blue banner at the top of the UI where you can click in and see the new UI, and the UI team will be continuing to add new features and refinements into the UI to make this more fully feature parity with the existing UI. If you do find a bug in the new UI, please report it via the AWX GitHub repo as an issue. When you open a new issue in the repo, you should see a new option for UI, and then in parentheses, tech preview. So you can submit issues and feature requests specifically about the new UI. Translation contributions have traditionally been pretty hard for us to accept because of how we do the translations. This system is attempting to be overhauled. So hopefully soon there will be a new process for contributing translations and being able to merge those things in directly from like AWX contributions. I don't have a ton of details around that, but please stay tuned, and hopefully when that changes, we'll have some kind of announcement about that, hopefully in the Bullhorn. That sounds like a really good Bullhorn type item. So if you haven't subscribed, please do that. There's been a couple operator enhancements. So one of the enhancements was to assign resource requirements on the initialization containers. And then we've added support for various types of resources within AWX so that the AWX resource operator can automatically create these things for you as it's bringing your instances up. Call to action for the community: please upgrade your AWX, test out the new features, try new things, click on buttons, let us know if you have issues, report them here, engage with other people on the mailing list and GitHub issues and PRs through Matrix. Contribute anywhere in any way that you can. You don't have to be doing technical code changes to be a community member or to be contributing. You can read our docs and give us suggestions about that. You can just talk with other people, even just using the product and providing us feedback. Those are all ways that people can contribute. And a huge thank you again to all of our community members and to our engineers. This project is much more successful when we're a bigger community. And that was the end of that presentation. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to our meeting presentation. All right, so big thank you to everyone who's attending in person and or watching the recording on YouTube. And with that, that was everything that we had planned for today. If anybody wants to talk about anything, please feel free to unmute yourself and bring up a question, start a conversation. We'll be here for a little bit longer. And again, if you don't feel comfortable talking on the recording, feel free to just throw something in chat and one of us will ask the question for you.
John, yeah, I wanted something I didn't mention earlier about the remote execution node receptor collection change that Tonga made, but is that we do, as part of that work, we also have some tasks in the playbook and the roles that allow you to set up a node on Debian-based machines. So I guess that's something I want to at least like more explicitly announce, is that not only can you instantiate and set up nodes on RHEL, which was kind of supported before, but with the upcoming work with receptor collection, you'll be able to set up on Debian machines. So we have all the logic there to install dependencies using the Debian package manager, and there was some extra little things we had to change to make that work. So that was something that Tonga pushed in. And if people are interested in being able to set up remote execution nodes on other types of supported operating systems or OSs, it should be easy to go into the receptor collection and open a PR to extend the support to those additional operating systems. So you'll see there's a file called setup Red Hat and setup RHEL, and another file called setup Debian. So I can imagine other types of setup dash and then the OS specific platform that you want to set up on. It will allow you. That would be a nice contribution or a way to contribute if you're eager to have execution nodes running on something other than RHEL and Debian. Yeah, setup open WRT. Yeah, that's the next one for sure. I'll be looking forward to that one.
Just also as a side note, Tonga was asking when hop nodes will become available, and Jake had responded with not in this release.
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. That's true. It's coming together soon, but we still have a little bit more work to do on our end. But sooner than later.
And Julian is strongly pushing to be able to use his home router as a hop node.
Yeah, it's already there. Why not reuse it?
Any other questions or discussions we want to have?
I have a semi off topic one that has arisen. Does anyone know if you can put something in a Bullhorn that's recurring so you wouldn't have to post it every like twice a month or something like that?
The Bullhorn is built based on requests, so it's not you can't like set up a recurring thing, not to my knowledge, unless it becomes part of the template. So if you want to do that, you could probably
hour sort of things. I didn't know if someone had a trick, but if it's not, then
yeah, we could probably find a way. We could probably find a way to get it in there. We could talk to Carol or Don or any of the folks on the community team about potentially adding something that's recurring there.
So I would also say that the Bullhorn is like generated by sending a message in Matrix. And allegedly there are Ansible Matrix modules. So you could potentially automate something recurring.
Okay. No, yeah. Java template. No, I was just double checking before I went down that route. So thank you.
If you go down that route, please let me know, because eventually someday I want to automate our Matrix Bullhorn notifications for the AWX release process, but I just haven't had time to do it. So I will gladly steal your playbook.
If I do it, I will probably make it a GitHub template that people can steal.
Perfect. If nobody has anything else, I will stop the recording, and then we'll open it up to see if anybody has anything they want to talk about off the recording. Actually, before we stop the recording, Chad, do you want to introduce yourself? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
We can't hear you, Chad. We still can't hear you, Chad. No worries. We heard a little beep and buzz before you unmuted yourself.
How about now?
Sounds good.
Okay, there we go. Hi, sorry about that. Chad Furman, I'm the new product manager, taking over some of the controller work from Phil. So before this, I was doing all the edge stuff from product management, but I guess more importantly, before all that, I was a customer for many, many years at a very large company. So I've used Ansible AWX as well as Ansible the product quite a bit, and I really love Ansible, and that's why I came to work at Red Hat. So I look forward to working with everybody.
Thanks for introducing yourself. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, totally cool, man. That's my job.
All right, so now I'm actually really going to stop the recording.